What if Robert Baratheon made Tywin Hand of the King, not Ned? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Robert looks over the body of Jon Arryn and feels a lump forming in his throat as he stares at the body. He does not know how long he has with him, as the Silent Sisters will be arriving soon to take him away. The others had already come and gone, at least those who showed up. Renly and Pycelle stopped by to pay their respects, as did Ser Barristan, but others did not appear entirely. Varys, Stannis, and other courtiers. Ingrates, he wants to call them. Jon Arryn has served the realm for years, and in some way he has served longer than Robert has. But this leaves a less pleasant question. What shall be done now, as the realm is without a hand? After Jon Arryn is taken away, his small council will urge him to name a new hand, and each one will already have their candidates. He can already hear their voices hammering in his ear. It is so strong that he does not notice the door open until footsteps ring behind him. Robert is surprised to see Cersei moving to kneel beside him as she begins to pray.
Didn't think you'd show up here, wife.
It would be unbecoming for the Queen Mother not to show her respect to a member of the small council, just as unbecoming if the king were without a hand.
If you came to show respect, then show some bloody respect. The man is not even buried yet.
I am paying respects to him. You think Jon Aaryn would have wanted the realm he's managed for years to fall apart just because he died? I take it you have some ideas of who to name his hand.
All right. I was thinking Lord Stark. He's honorable, intelligent, and loyal. I can think of no better man than Ned.
Also distant and cold. Ned has not set foot in the capital for almost 15 years. He would be a stranger to the court. Men would resent him for the favor you show him.
Let them. It's not as if it's untrue. Even in the north, Ned has done more for me than most of these flatterers.
But why risk alienating them? Not when there are options closer to home, and who might not cause so much controversy. Men like my father.
And there it is. Doesn't Lord Tywin have enough power in the west?
It is beneath his talent to be a simple warden. Any of his bannermen can handle the responsibility. But the kings of past have trusted his judgment, and he served them well.
Aye, I'm sure the Mad King thought so.
He was mad because he spurned my father's advice, and perhaps we need him more than ever. The crown is in debt, and Tywin knows better than anyone how to manage wealth. Jon Arryn's death is a symbol of weakness. You will need a strong hand, one not afraid to remind the people of the crown's strength.
Cersei sees the slight change in Robert's expression, and she knows she has him. Her husband is always prideful and eager to show strength, even in a matter like this. After a moment's consideration, he agrees to this and orders ravens to be sent to Castle Rock, ordering Tywin to King's Landing with all haste. News of Tywin's appointment soon reaches the other great houses and is met with dismay from many places. The North, Vale, and Dorne all oppose it, some openly and others quietly. They all see the royal court as increasingly dominated by the Lannisters. However, none of them are in a position to seriously challenge them. By the time he arrives, Lord Arryn has been brought back to the Vale, but the Lord of the West arrives with a long train of knights, bannermen, and household. He makes his way to the Red Keep, stopping only to pay respects to his predecessor as Robert commissions a statue of him. When he finds the king, he is on the Iron Throne and looks down at him. At once, Tywin gets to one knee and bows his head.
Your Grace, I thank you for your trust in me. Rest assured I will not let you down with this responsibility you have bestowed upon me. I certainly hope not. I've had enough Lannisters in my court, but you're supposed to be the most useful one of them.
Tywin raises an eyebrow and says nothing. Instead, he calls for a small council meeting to get to know the rest of them and assesses the situation. Unsurprisingly, Robert does not take part in the meeting, as instead he hosts the visiting Vale Lords with a hunt. What is surprising is that Stannis is not present, as he learns that the Master of Ships has returned to Dragonstone. He tries to brush this aside, though, and focuses on meeting with the rest of the council. He takes stock of the realm's current situation. From there, they learn that things seem quiet, but there are issues brewing. The biggest of these is that the crown is nearly 6 million gold dragons in debt. But beyond that, problems with Viserys still pressing his claim and growing regionalism persist. Tywin listens to all of this and proclaims to take action. He says they will meet in the future once he has time to think of a plan. As the rest of the lords leave, Pycelle lingers behind.
My lord, let me express my most sincere welcome here at the small council. I'm sure your wisdom will be most illuminating. If you truly wish to welcome me, then do not insult me with this performance. I have questions that need to be answered. Very well, my lord Hand. What is it you would like to know? First of all, Stannis Baratheon. Why is he not here? Secondly, what was the nature of Jon Arryn's demise? I saw that man a few months back. He looked as vigorous as ever. Most perceptive, my lord. Those two things are not as separate as you might realize. For some time now, Lord Aaryn and Stannis have been working closely together, investigating Robert's bastards. Some rumored that they were planning on putting one in the throne. Others say he suspects that your grandchildren might be bastards. As to why he left, he feared for his safety. One member of the small council met a sudden end. What's to prevent that from happening again? And what's your role in this, Grand Maester? If you believe I had a hand in Lord Arryn's death, let me assure you that I am no cat's paw. I simply ensured that such a slanderous rumor would not get out once an opportunity presented itself. I see. Thank you, Grandmaster. You may go. Of course, my lord. But if I can offer some advice, watch Joffrey closely. Bastard or not, that boy will be trouble.
Tywin nods, his brow furrowing as he wonders what this means. Unfortunately, he soon fully understands what it means in the coming weeks. He watches his grandson and asks the rest of the court what they've seen him doing, and the answer is conclusive. He is spoiled, cruel, and entitled, but lacks any real aptitude for leadership, and the source becomes clear: Cersei. Each time Joffrey acts up or is caught misbehaving, the Queen rushes to his defense, dismissing these claims or protecting him from consequences. She brushes off his cruelty as being willful, his incompetence as inexperience, and his aggression as boldness. Tywin quickly takes matters into his own hands. The servants and household Cersei hires to watch Joffrey are dismissed and replaced with Tywin's guards. He recruits a master-at-arms who does not hold back in training, a stern master to educate him, and servants who report everything to Tywin. If the boy so much as sets a toe out of line, the servants will report it to Tywin, who is quick to put the boy in his place. The old lion does not roar or beat his grandson. In many cases, a simple look and a threat are enough to put the cowardly prince back in place. Though Cersei rages at this, she has no power, as the guards of House Lannister are loyal to Tywin first. The only exception is Jaime, but Tywin orders his eldest son to keep an eye on her. But he does not simply discipline him. Tywin also tries to teach him. Each time Joffrey gets a notion in his head, Tywin sits him down and discusses it with him, having him think through his idea long and hard to help him understand its risks and rewards. This has mixed results, as while Joffrey occasionally has flashes of brilliance, the boy remains short-sighted and stubborn. In his head, he truly expects people to go along with his violent tendencies simply because he is king, a notion that neither Cersei nor Robert has ever corrected, and will take time to train out of him. In the meantime, Tywin also pays attention to Tommen and Myrcella. He has tutors hired to teach them the arts of statesmanship and other skills expected from royalty. Both are much more even-tempered than Joffrey, and he sees more success in getting through to them. But even this victory is marred by the rumors that Pycelle has presented him. As he continues to serve as Hand of the King, he consults with Pycelle and Varys about these rumors, and they both provide bits of evidence that Stannis and Jon Arryn were investigating a theory they had. That Joffrey and his siblings are bastards born of incest from Cersei and Jaime. At first, these rumors sound mad, and Tywin is ready to dismiss them out of hand, but the evidence begins to pile in his room. The books they consulted, the lists of bastards they visited, and the claims they have of Jaime and Cersei's closeness. Tywin begins to worry. While it certainly is weak, there is enough evidence to at least cast doubt, and doubt is what brings down dynasties. He begins working to push back against these rumors. For the next few weeks, Tywin continues to act like nothing is out of the ordinary. He continues meeting with the small council to plan on what to do with the crown's debt, even letting the crown focus on paying back the Iron Bank first before Castle Rock. He also visits his grandchildren and continues their training while keeping an eye on Cersei and Jaime. But throughout these few weeks, Tywin loudly notes Stannis' absence. He remarks how merchants are growing worried that their ships might be unprotected, or how they have no idea about the status of the royal fleet. Most importantly, their attempts to send ravens have no answers. After some time, Tywin goes for the kill and approaches Robert about it.
Your Grace, it has been some months since I arrived in King's Landing, and I have heard nothing from your brother. He continues to sit on Dragonstone without ever answering what he's doing exactly. Worse still, he does so while keeping most of the royal fleet with him. A less kind soul might assume he's plotting. Is that unkind soul you, Lord Tywin? Begging your pardon, Your Grace. I am of the mind that each man has his use. It only matters that they do their duty, and I believe that Lord Stannis has so far failed in that task. My brother might be stern and difficult, but he is hardly incompetent. The man is rigid to a fault, and will do his duty to the letter. He has always served loyally. And yet he is not here, Your Grace. How am I to protect our sea lanes without the royal fleet? How am I to save gold for their repairs when I have no reports on their status? How can I move troops and secure supply lines without them? I have tried to summon him back here to answer my questions, but I have received nothing but silence. Is that loyal service? Are you asking me to remove my own brother from a position I granted him? If you fear he will rebel now, then he will certainly rebel then. He still hasn't forgiven me for that business with Dragonstone. I ask nothing of the sort, Your Grace. I understand the difficult position you are in, which is why I shall take on the task for you. As your hand, you asked me to put the realm in order, and I will need a strong council to ensure that. So, I only ask your support in building it.
There is relief in Robert's eyes, and Tywin suppresses a smile. Though the king is a great warrior, he has never been good at making the hard decisions and ruling.
Very well. You can install a new master of ships temporarily. This is until Stannis returns to King's Landing and answers for his actions. If I find his explanation satisfactory, then he can have his position back.
Tywin nods and makes the pronouncement the next day, including sending a letter to Stannis demanding he explain his actions within a fortnight or have his title revoked. When no such answer arrives, Tywin declares Lord Valerian the new master of ships. He is one of Stannis' most powerful bannermen, and from a proud but impoverished house. This title goes a long way in helping him reclaim some of his house glory and pull him from his liege lord's orbit. But Stannis isn't the only Baratheon he has to worry about. Renly also remains a risk, as he has made his dislike for the Lannisters clear, often mocking them and making jests. The youngest Baratheon laughs too easily, which only wins him Tywin's distrust, especially when Varys reports Renly's closeness with the Tyrells and his dislike of the Lannisters.
I once heard Lord Renly jest that for as accomplished as Robert is, he enjoys surrounding himself with lions. Once he mentioned how the place stinks of lion shit, and perhaps some roses are necessary to freshen up the Red Keep.
While most of these are idle talk, Tywin knows that Renly could pose a threat. His alliance with the Tyrells could grant him a powerful army, so he begins to make efforts to clip the stag's antlers. Although Renly is master of laws, he begins to sabotage the Baratheons' position. Though he might hold sway over the Goldcloaks, Littlefinger is their paymaster, and he secretly has Janos Slynt and his men swear loyalty to Tywin instead. They discreetly allow crime to grow in some places that Renly is popular in, letting thieves and murderers run rampant and making them question his capabilities. Meanwhile, Varys spreads rumors about Renly's illicit meetings with Loras, letting these tales be told all across taverns and inns across the city and beyond. In particular, he lets it be heard in the Sept, where Septons are horrified and refuse to support him. But most importantly, he makes sure these reach Mace Tyrell's ears, who fears the reputational hit his family will take. They begin to distance themselves from Renly, at least publicly. Tywin also passes unpopular laws and makes it appear that Renly is allowing them to happen, such as charges to feasts, tourneys, and brothels. All of these anger nobles and small folk alike. At the same time, Tywin can use these revenues to begin paying off the crown's debt. Neither Baratheon takes this lying down and begins plotting their retaliation. Although Stannis no longer has a position in court, He still has ears in the Red Keep, who keeps him updated about its happenings, and he sees Tywin's shadows stretching over the court. The Lannisters tighten their grip on every aspect of the realm: coin, court, and council. If justice is to be met, he must start recruiting allies and begin sending ravens and messengers out. Ser Davos sails to the Vale, speaking of rumors of how the Lannisters are responsible for Jon Arryn's death. Many of the Valemen, including Lysa Arryn, already suspect this, and seeing how powerful Tywin has become, they're inclined to believe it. Ravens fly north to Winterfell and south to Sunspear. The language is measured but bold. He speaks of a realm losing balance, of a crown beholden to gold, of a hand who serves his name before the king's. To Stark, Stannis warns that Robert is surrounded by Lannisters, and, in a hidden section, speaks of the evidence he's gathered about the Lannister children and how Jon Arryn suspected the same thing, too. To Prince Doran, he tells him of how he knows the Dornish crave justice for Elia and sympathize with them, promising to grant it. Meanwhile, Renly plays a different game. Young, charming, and far more perceptive than many realize. He sees an opportunity not in open defiance, but in quiet manipulation. He watches Joffrey, still just a boy but desperate for autonomy. Tywin treats him as a pupil, strict, commanding, dismissive of the boy's crown. Renly begins to spend more time with Joffrey, cloaking his ambition behind compliments and brotherly advice. He praises the king's judgment, tells stories of past rulers who assert their authority early. He warns him how some people have sought to control the king behind the scenes, and advises Joffrey to assert himself while he is young, lest he be lost in the shadows. Joffrey soaks it in. He starts pushing back in his lessons with Tywin, questioning decisions, interrupting lectures, and even walking out entirely. Tywin, unamused, responds with cold disdain, tightening the leash further. It comes to a head during one of their sessions. Tywin stands beside a map of the Westerlands, lecturing on the management of resources, including taxes on tournaments and brothels.
You talk of taxes and levies as if you are king. Perhaps you forget yourself, Lord Hand. Look outside. The people hate it. They curse us for it.
I do not forget my station, but remember that a king cannot be ruled by tantrums. A king rules when he is respected, not when he is liked. If the people are upset, let them be.
Let them? Let them run wild? You want to control them, but you don't have the will to put them in their place. They don't respect you or fear you. I'd take 10 of their heads now to warn the others, and if they refuse to back down, I'd take 100 tomorrow.
And what were to happen when they refuse then? Would you take 1,000 next? 10,000 after that? What is to stop them from rebelling? Once you've cornered an animal, do not be surprised when it sees no other option but to fight. If you intend to rule, you would be wise to remember that, boy.
I am not a child. You think you can replace me like you replaced Jon Arryn?
The words hang in the air, heavier than any sword. Tywin studies him. For the first time, there is a flicker of something new in his eyes. Not contempt, but calculation. Joffrey storms out. Renly watches from a nearby corner, hidden just out of sight. He allows himself the smallest of smiles. Unfortunately, it soon becomes clear that Joffrey was not just making idle boasts when he said that. The next time the small folk gather to protest outside the Red Keep about these taxes, Joffrey is ready. He stands by the battlements and raises a hand for silence. Behind him, the Kingsguard stand ready.
Attention, all of you. I understand your frustration, but these taxes are for the good of the realm. They are to ensure the continued prosperity of our city and the Seven Kingdoms as a whole. I ask all of you to disperse now and go home. If you refuse, I will be forced to take drastic action to keep the king's peace.
Their response is to rain curses down on the king. Some even throw bits of food at him. Though all of them fall short of reaching the walls, Joffrey's anger flashes, and he nods to his Kingsguard. Moments later, the portcullis rises, and a wedge of armored knights comes rushing out. People try to scream and run away, but the riders run them down. From the battlements, Joffrey fires a crossbow at retreating smallfolk. A few manage to escape into the alleys and narrow streets, but many are ridden down or stabbed with spears and swords. Nearly 60 people die in this attack. In the end, Joffrey makes good on his promise, taking 10 heads and placing them on the Red Keep as a warning for anyone who thinks of protesting again. But these actions infuriate not only Lord Tywin, but also Robert. Neither one wanted something like this, and they soon see the effects. Tensions flare, and there are soon reports of attacks on the Gold Cloaks all across the city. For once, Robert must attend a small council meeting to discuss what to do.
It's these taxes, Your Grace. The small folk hate it, as do the nobility.
If you want them to forget about it, then I suggest we repel them immediately.
It's a bit late for that, Lord Renly. Blood has been spilled, and people are not soon to forget it. By doing that, we not only admit defeat, but we are acknowledging that we were wrong, and these men died for nothing. What will their families think? They will resent us and plot further.
Then we deal with these people directly. You've raised tens of thousands of gold dragons from these taxes. A handful of them can support a man for a year. Surely some of it can be spread to support a few dozen families, if you are so worried about upsetting them. I will even see to the matter personally. The Lord of Castle Rock is furious at this, but knows he cannot decline. This gives Renly the victory, as he can claim credit for replacing these laws while making the Lannisters look like fools. He can do nothing but submit here and instead addresses the root of the problem, Joffrey himself. Though he has tried to discipline him, it is clear the boy will not listen to him. But now, even Robert cannot defend him, and instead, Tywin approaches him privately once the meeting is over.
You must disinherit Joffrey.
Are you mad? I can't disinherit my son like that, fool as he is. I might not be much of a ruler, but I know such things are dangerous to the stability of the realm, unless I'm prepared to take his head off too, and I am no kinslayer.
You think that he is just acting young and impulsive? The boy is a monster. I see it now. I've tried to train him to be better, and I know you see it too. He is dangerous, and if he is allowed to rule, he will become a greater danger to stability. We must nip this problem in the bud.
And what will the people say?
Likely thank us after this stunt he's pulled. You think the noble houses will rally to his side? Most of them don't know him, and those who do are not likely to offer their support. The only houses that will be affected are yours and mine, and neither of us has any reason to keep him.
Robert thinks about it, but sees the logic in Tywin's words. The next morning he announces that, in the light of these recent events, Robert has decided to name Tommen as his heir instead. Joffrey is not there to hear it, though, as Renly tells him ahead of time and advises him to leave while he still can. With him, there is money to hire sellswords. Truthfully, Renly has no care for Joffrey's claim, but sees it as a chance to turn the Lannisters against one another. And soon the first blood is spilled in the Crownlands, as a raven arrives with news. Joffrey has seized a small town with sellswords and has set up garrison to the torch. In the coming weeks, more mercenaries arrive, bolstering his army by hundreds. This is thanks to Renly, who discreetly sent him money to arm him and keep the rebellion from being immediately crushed. Joffrey declares himself the rightful king, betrayed by false counselors who are manipulating his father. He now rides under the stag and lion. When he searches for allies, Renly does not offer his aid, instead placating him with money discreetly sent and encourages the Tyrells not to support him. However, some hedge knights and bandits join his army, and even some small folk who are well aware of Tywin's cruelty and eager to strike back. Tywin wastes no time. He dons his armor and gathers his household knights. He leaves command of the city to Jaime, placing Myrcella and Tommen under heavy guard. His words are clear and cold to his children.
There will be no civil war. This is a family matter. It will end quickly.
He marches out with 500 knights. There is no grand battle. Joffrey's rebellion is more tantrum than threat. An angry boy king with stolen gold, a few loyal guards, and the backing of a handful of minor lords eager to gamble for royal favor. When Tywin finds them, it is near the border of the Crownlands, where Joffrey has made camp. The rebel king tries to issue demands from atop his horse, crossbow in hand, barking orders like a child playing soldier. He does not even wait for the sellswords he's hired from across the narrow sea. Tywin must resign as Hand of the King. He must reinstate Joffrey as heir, and repeal all the laws he's made. All those who follow Tywin must also publicly swear loyalty to him. Tywin does not even flinch. He gives the order, and his knights crash into the camp before the rest of Joffrey's sellswords arrive. Most of Joffrey's forces break immediately, only a handful stay to fight, and even fewer survive. Joffrey is dragged through the mud by his guards, kicking and cursing, blood on his tunic. but they lead him to safety, and he manages to ride off into the wilderness, forcing Tywin to chase after him. He soon places a bounty on Joffrey, but stipulates the Boy King must be taken alive. Although a decisive victory, the damage is done. The realm sees what Tywin feared most, Lannister fighting Lannister, blood drawn by the lion's claw. Whispers spread in taverns and lordly courts alike. If even the Hand's house is in open strife, then Tywin is not invincible. Cersei, hearing of Joffrey's defeat, is not relieved. She is furious. In her eyes, Tywin did not spare Joffrey. He humiliated him, and Robert did nothing. She sees it not as justice, but betrayal. That night, she begins her plot. She speaks with her cousin Lancel, her handmaidens, and even Pycelle. She learns the king plans a hunt the following morning. With subtle poison slipped into his wine and whispers planted in the stable hands, the groundwork is laid. 2 days later, news rides hard back to the capital. The king is dead, gored by a boar while too drunk to defend himself. The realm mourns, but they are blind to the true threat. Renly, hearing of Robert's death, is stunned. He had warned Joffrey to flee for his life. He wanted the Lannisters to fall into chaos, but he did not expect this. The rebellion had caused a few casualties, but he did not expect Robert to be one of them. As the news sinks in, shock turns to fury as he sees this as the Lannisters doing. Now the Iron Throne is claimed by a child, and the realm teeters. Stannis receives the same raven and is quiet for a long time. He reads it again and again. Then he turns to Melisandre and calls for Ned Stark's aid once again. The two of them want to take action, but they hesitate for Robert's sake. To take up arms would put his rule in jeopardy, so both of them bide their time. Now that he is dead, nothing is holding them back, and ravens fly to their other allies to call their banners. With Robert dead, the Seven Kingdoms fracture. Power flows like blood, and those with ambition rush to seize it. Renly Baratheon is the first to act. Riding at the head of a small host of 1,000, he rides hard to the Crownlands just as Joffrey is retreating from his grandfather. With this army, they quickly sweep him up and escort him to safety. Joffrey, dazed and confused, is grateful for their aid. The youngest Baratheon realizes that Joffrey could be a useful puppet, and he proclaims his desire to protect him in direct defiance of Tywin. This further incenses the old lion, who sees his name in tatters. They make their way to Storm's End, where the Stormlands all gather to offer their services to Renly and Joffrey. A betrothal is quickly arranged. Margaery Tyrell to Joffrey, a match of crown and flower. Mace Tyrell, still hesitant about Renly, as the rumors of him and Loras are still fresh. But since this agreement doesn't bind him to the family, he accepts, and they agree to reconsider Renly's position once they are more secure and can do away with Joffrey. In the meantime, Renly will play the part of dutiful hand, and as his first act, he brings the Reach into his fold. In a fortnight, Joffrey's position shifts completely, as now he is the dominant force. The remaining sellswords he was supposed to hire are taken into Renly's service, effectively depriving Joffrey of his army. Renly sets up his court in Storm's End, stylizing himself as the protector of the realm. His armies swell. Gold flows freely from Highgarden. Banners high fly from Tumbleton to the Dornish marches, but his war is not won yet. Far to the east, on Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon makes his claim, cold, severe, and unflinching. He proclaims what he and Jon Arryn died for, the truth, that Joffrey, Tommen, and Myrcella are bastard-borns of incest, and that Robert's true heir is none of them. Stannis sends ravens to every great lord. He sends Maester Crescent to Winterfell with books, records, and testimonies of those who knew Robert's bastards. Ned Stark, still in Winterfell, reads the letters and remembers what Jon Arryn said before he died. The seed is strong. He also sends word to the Vale, reminding them that this is what Jon Arryn died for, and the two regions agree to meet at Riverrun. Though cautious, the North rallies to Stannis. Robb, acting in his father's name, raises the Stark banner. Lords from the Neck to the Wall ride south, not for glory, but for justice. But first, Ned rides south to the Riverrun to meet with Stannis. There, he is joined by Nestor Royce and Lord Redford to discuss the plans moving forward. By the time they arrive, Stannis is waiting for them along with Melisandre.
You've all gathered here because of the rumors. Joffrey Baratheon and his siblings are not my brother Robert's children. They are instead bastards born of incest.
Yes, Your Grace, we've heard of this, but it is a dangerous thing to accuse the Lannisters without proof, especially now.
You've seen the evidence I've presented. The genealogies, the reports, The bastards.
None of that is ironclad, Your Grace. All of that can be trampled up to circumstances or manipulations by a jealous uncle looking to steal the throne. It would be a tremendous risk to commit our forces to a rumor.
A rumor? Your Lord Arryn died for this rumor. Have you all forgotten that? He was poisoned. And who would gain from his death but the Lannisters?
It is true. I will not pretend like I have nothing to gain from this rebellion, but I do care for Jon Aaryn, and I've always respected him. We do not just fight for my claim, but his legacy as well. If we ignore this investigation, we will condemn him as a mere footnote in history.
I had known Jon Aaryn to be wise and loyal. He would not launch an investigation such as this without good reason. Very well. I'll see what I can do.
He rides back with letters from Stannis, and the young and easily swayed Lord Robert Arryn is convinced by these reports, outlining his father's faith and promises of justice. Though Lysa resists, the Vale's banners join the march. As the North and the Vale gather their armies, Stannis sends letters to one more person, Prince Doran.
Prince Doran, I will not pretend our houses have any great love for each other, not after the sack of King's Landing. Though you have little reason to support my claim, I have come with a promise of justice for what has befallen your house. The deaths of Elia Martell and her children were a wrong that cannot be undone and cannot be amended with a mere apology. It requires justice through action, and I offer you that now. You've seen the other great houses like the Tyrells and my brother rush to the aid of the Lannisters when it befits them. But I mean to make things right. All I ask is your support.
Ever wary of the Reach, Stannis' call is answered, especially once they see Mace Tyrell moving to place his daughter beside Joffrey. Prince Doran, calculating as ever, fears that Tywin's legacy will live on through this marriage, and he has heard the cruelties of Prince Joffrey. He begins moving troops northward in secret, coordinating with Stannis' envoys. The banners of House Lannister rise high over the Golden Tooth, as Tywin Lannister begins his campaign not by defending, but by attacking. The Reach must not be allowed to swallow the Westerlands while his forces are spread thin. Tywin rides out from Castle Rock with 20,000 well-armored men, heavy cavalry, and siege engineers. His first move is swift and brutal. He sweeps through Tumbleton and Longtable, torching supply lines and putting minor Reach lords to the sword. His message is clear. This will not be another rebellion. This is punishment. There were several smaller armies gathered there as border lords mustered their levies to raid and defend against any crossing. Sir Gregor falls upon them before they can unite and destroys them in detail. Sir Kevan, meanwhile, rides east with the second garrison to King's Landing, placing Cersei under strict guard and removing Tommen and Marcella from her care. Kevan offers soft words, but the meaning is sharp. Tywin will no longer allow his daughter to endanger their house. Cersei, furious, is escorted under heavy guard back to King's Landing and kept in Maegor's Holdfast for her safety. Kevan retakes command of King's Landing itself, dismissing incompetent commanders, reorganizing the Gold Cloaks, and building fire defenses in case of siege. Tommen is reaffirmed as heir, and the capital prepares for war. While Tywin consolidates the west and capital, Stannis Baratheon makes his move, marching down the Trident to cut off Tywin's land bridge. From the Golden Tooth, Ser Prester rides out and engages them, trying to maintain their land bridge. He wins some minor victories against the Vances and puts them under siege, hoping to use it as a forward base. However, he does not expect Lords Blackwood and Bracken to set aside their ancient feud to follow him. With these reinforcements, their outriders gallop ahead and engage the Lannister army, preventing them from properly fortifying, and Ned Stark and Stannis arrive and crush their forces. The Knight of Feastfires is captured, and the Tullys, emboldened by his truth regarding Joffrey's illegitimacy, offer their banners. The Riverlands fall quickly, and Stannis sets up court at Riverrun. Tywin, forced to abandon his Reach campaign temporarily, wheels east to meet this threat. He gathers what remains of Ser Forley's army and stiffens them with his own troops, but Stannis' army is too entrenched. Skirmishes follow, and Sir Gregor is allowed to launch chevauchés, but these are beaten back. Renly still holds the largest host in the realm, bolstered by Reach levies and Tyrell gold. His men, more accustomed to feasts and tourneys, are no match for the disciplined Westerlands. At the Battle of Mander's End, Jaime Lannister cuts through Renly's rearguard and forces Renly to halt his advance to King's Landing, stopping their advance. The ensuing battles are smaller, but continue to favor the Lannisters, with the Tyrells struggling to hold their ground unless commanded by skilled or daring commanders like Randall Tarley or the Knights of Flowers. During one especially brutal fight, Sir Gregor Clegane leads a brutal raid on a nearby keep used as a supply depot. Inside, he finds a prize greater than gold, Joffrey, petulant and hidden underground. The boy refuses to surrender. Gregor, with neither patience nor pity, smashes him against the wall. When word reaches Tywin, he is solemn before his men, mourning, a tragic accident of war. But in private, he speaks only 3 words in his letter to Kevin: "Thank the gods." With Joffrey dead, Renly's claim weakens. The Reach begins to whisper. Mace Tyrell grows uneasy. Marjorie is not yet queen, and now her betrothed is dead. He considers making peace with Tywin, as though the Lannisters have the upper hand. He is in no position to challenge the lord of a great house, and many offer generous terms. Stannis, planning to march directly to King's Landing, faces unrest in his camp. His men, full of rage and vengeance, demand that they strike the Lannisters directly. Davos advises in support of this, along with Ned and Lord Nestor. Sending a smaller force under Roose Bolton to besiege King's Landing, the rest of his army harasses Tywin's rear, striking with uncanny coordination alongside Dornish raiders crashing into the Reach. The Dornish, led by Sir Archibald Yornwood and Lord Anders, strike from the south, burning fields, pillaging caravans, and isolating Tywin's forces from resupply. A secondary force commanded by the Red Viper himself strikes into the Stormlands and prevents the Marcher lords from reinforcing Renly. Tywin, caught between Stannis at his front and Flames behind, makes one last stand near the Mander. There, the Lion and the Stag meet in battle. It is a brutal, grinding melee. Stannis, in the thick of the action, fights like a fire incarnate. When Tywin's horse is killed under him and his bannermen begin to fall, a shadow passes overhead. In the final moment, a dark figure, impossibly thin and smoky, slides through the chaos and drives a shadowy blade into Tywin's chest. The Lord of Castle Rock falls. His men break. With Tywin dead and the River Lords and Crownlands ablaze, King's Landing prepares for siege. Renly, holding on to scattered territory and unsure allies, loses his greatest protector in Mace Tyrell, who begins quietly opening negotiation with Stannis. Desperate, Renly remembers a name whispered once during a small council meeting: Ser Jorah Mormont, a disgraced knight now exiled to Essos, seen traveling with a girl who commands dragons. Renly writes a letter in secret, sealing it with his sigil. To Ser Jorah of Bear Island, I remember your loyalty, and now I would offer you redemption and your queen a crown. He offers Daenerys Targaryen an alliance. If she comes to Westeros, he will support her claim, with Reach and Stormlander strength against Stannis, whom he deems too dangerous to rule. But as Renly looks to make peace, Stannis looks to end the war. With Tywin dead, his men's bloodlust is satisfied, and he prepares his march on the capital. But before he arrives, the dragons come. At dawn, the walls of King's Landing tremble with the thunder of wings. Daenerys Stormborn rides at the head of a fleet, her dragons screaming overhead. She comes not alone. Unsullied legions, exiled Westerosi knights, and Renly Baratheon at her side. The Gold Cloaks open the gates from within. The remaining Lannisters, Kevan, Pycelle, and the last of the Gold Cloaks loyal to Cersei, are slain in the fighting, or burned in the Red Keep when Drogon passes overhead. By nightfall, Daenerys stands on the Iron Throne, its soot-stained blades gleaming red with firelight. In the ruined hall, Renly stands beside her. The court is full. Stormlords, Reachmen, Tyrells, and sellswords from the Free Cities. I was the first to stand against Tywin, the only Baratheon who did not draw sword against you or your people. I never made war on the realm. I only wanted to save it. Daenerys studies him. This charming, beautiful man who knows politics better than bloodshed. She also can't help but admire the handsome features of Renly Baratheon, the easy way his mouth moves, and his charming smile.
And now you want to marry into the throne.
You will be queen. I will be the shield. Let the people see a dragon and a stag standing side by side. The old dynasty and the new one together.
It is a bold claim, and Daenerys considers it before accepting. Daenerys and Renly announce their betrothal, and the realm, desperate for peace, cheers. The Reach and Crownlands fall into line. The sky over the Reach is no longer blue. Ashes swirl in the wind, and the cries of the dying echo from fields that once bloomed with golden wheat and summer roses. In a war camp near Hayford, Stannis Baratheon sits at a battered table, hunched over maps blackened by soot. The candlelight flickers against his face, drawn and hollow from weeks of attrition. The Reach and Stormlands remain contested between his men and the loyalists to Renly, leading to fighting breaking out across the regions. In Highgarden, Loras rides with all his speed and a few thousand companions, entering the castle in the dead of night. He stalks the halls, approaching the garrison and quickly swaying them as they soon reach Mace Tyrell, who sits half-dressed, surrounded by startled retainers.
You bowed to the old lion when we needed unity. You abandoned Lord Renly when he needed us. And you sacrificed our claim.
I am still Lord of the Reach.
You will not. You were Lord of the Reach. I will not hurt you, but I shall handle the war as it should have been done.
Loras Tyrell has taken control of the Reach in his sister's name, and soon reinforcements arrive. A dry wind stirs the dust across the Dornish frontier, where unsullied spears form a silent wall, rows deep and perfectly still. Grey Worm stands at the center, flanked by standard-bearers holding aloft the banner of the dragon. Across the field, Lord Anders Yornwood watches from a sand-swept hilltop, flanked by Dornish outriders.
They do not speak, they do not drink, they do not bleed. What kind of men are these?
They are not men, my lord. They are the storm
Sent by a Targaryen.
When the Dornish begin their advance, they are met by volleys of javelins from freedmen and the impeccable advance of unsullied spears. Yornwood's cavalry tries to flank them, only to find traps laid in the mountain paths as sellswords rush at them in the cramped spaces. The march halts, and the Dornish are pushed back, preventing them from marching north to join Stannis. The streets of Duskendale are in flames as the freedmen laid siege to it, trying to expand Daenerys' control in the Crownlands. They surround the town and prepare to capture, just as a relief force sent by Stannis arrives. In this chaos rides Lord Nestor Royce, clad in black steel, the moon and falcon of House Arryn on its chest.
In the name of Lord Robert Arryn and the House Arryn of the Vale, I order this town cleansed of rebels.
Behind him, armored knights of the Vale ride through the battlefield with terrifying precision. Freedmen try to fight, axes and clubs in hand, but the knights are trained, armored, and ruthless. It is a slaughter. By dusk, Royce kneels in the burnt-out sept, his sword red to the hilt. Just south, a company of Dothraki set up camp in a river, whirring their horses as they laugh and sharpen their blades, their saddlebags full to bursting with loot. But they are careless, and Roose Bolton lies in wait and gives the signal to attack while they are distracted. Crossbows fire from the trees, and flanking pikes tear through the riders. The Dothraki fight back fiercely, but this is not a battlefield. It is a butcher's block. One captain is captured alive. Roose kneels before him, dagger in hand.
You flay a horse from the hooves, a man from the chest.
The warrior screams as skin is peeled from his chest in wet layers. Even the Dothraki flee, whispering of the ghost man in the trees who wears his enemies' skins. These are just some of the countless fights breaking all across the realm, leaving both sides bleeding out, but no closer to victory. Stannis studies the map carefully and tries to push for progress. Melisandre steps into the tent without announcement. Her red robes flow like blood over the stone.
You seek victory. I offer it. One last shadow born of fire and blood.
What will it cost?
A part of you, as it has before.
Do it.
Above the fields outside Hayford, Rhaegal glides through the clouds, his green wings cutting the moonlight. Below, Baratheon men scatter, pretending to retreat to draw him in. The archers try to fire, and the horsemen scatter. Rhaegal circles around and unleashes his fiery breath as he searches for food. When he descends, a shadow moves. No sound, no breath, only shape and silence. It rises on the wind like a second dragon and dives, blade in hand. Rhaegal streaks. The blade, forged of nothing, sinks into his throat. Fire spews from his jaw as he crashes to the ground. As he lies there, the Baratheon men-at-arms swarm him, rushing with spears and arrows. His roar dies, unleashing gouts of flame that mix with his blood. Below, the Baratheon soldiers shout in triumph. They believe their god has answered. As news spreads of this victory, the Baratheons are reinvigorated. The victory against one of the dragons is proof that the Targaryens are not invincible. This defeat stings and leaves them reeling. Daenerys is furious and takes her anger out on the nearby castles. Those who have not yielded to her burn, while Renly gathers the swords from the Reach and moves to push back the Dornish entirely. Yet he leaves Ned to handle the Reach and support Oberyn, while Lord Nestor restores order in the Crownlands. He takes his fleet and sets sail for Dragonstone. He knows every rock of this island, its tides, its tunnels. Its secrets guide his ship to an empty inlet that few know about. 100 men disembark and sneak into the castle, executing the garrison and setting up ballistas. Concealed beneath fishing nets and battered carts, Stannis leads a detachment through a hidden tunnel beneath the cliffs, emerging in the castle's lower halls. He sends word of this across the Seven Kingdoms, letting them know of his capture. As the ancestral home of the Targaryens, there is no way she can accept this lying down. Drogon soon appears overhead, circling slow. He lands upon the western rampart, roaring his fury as Daenerys clings onto his back. They then begin to unleash fire on the castle, scattering men into the courtyard and burning towns. Men scream, but they fall in small groups of 3s and 4s. Stannis is careful to spread them out as he signals the attack. A flaming arrow flies. The ballista fire. They come from every angle, flying across towers and the ground, giving him no way to dodge them all. One bolt punches through Drogon's wing, another into his ribcage. The great dragon crashes into the courtyard with a cry that shakes the walls. Daenerys is thrown from the saddle, slamming against the stone violently. Viserion lets out a cry, half grief, half rage, and descends with his mouth open to unleash fire. On the cliffs, Melisandre chants in High Valyrian. The wind swirls unnaturally. Her eyes go black as the men light a fire around the ground where Drogon and Daenerys lie. Viserion's cry falters mid-flight. He spasms in the air, wings jerking as if caught in an invisible chain. Then, he turns. The fire he exhales is no longer gold, but black, tinged with crimson smoke. He then drops to the ground and lowers his head.
The dragon is yours, your grace. Let him burn the usurpers.
With this, the war shifts once again. The army of Daenerys is in chaos as the Unsullied and Dothraki don't allow themselves to be commanded by anyone else aside from the Dragon Queen. Meanwhile, the Westerosi question who they will follow now. Many simply desert or are picked off by Ned Stark and the Dornish. Stannis' arrival atop Viserion quickly puts whatever resistance to rest, as even in Highgarden, his troops storm the castle and capture both Loras and Renly. And both are soon executed, leaving Stannis the undisputed king of the Seven Kingdoms. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.